It is a really exciting time to be a miniature painter, whether you're just getting into the hobby or you've been into the hobby for a while. At no point has 3D printing been as accessible as it is now. If you don't own a 3D printer, there's a good chance you know somebody who does. And for just a few $100, you can pick up a printer that out of the box will let you be creative and can print with consistency and limited failures. And due to the fact that most of these companies now don't require you to be an engineer to get a quality print, we're gonna look today at some 3D prints that are perfect for miniature painting that aren't miniatures. Welcome back to Emberforge Lodge, a place where we can talk about all aspects of this hobby, from miniatures to painting to basing. And today we're going to talk about 3D prints that are great for this hobby that aren't miniatures. These are the accessories and things that you could use to make this hobby either easier or just more enjoyable. We're going to start with the #1 issue that all miniature painters have, and that is storage. You never have enough storage. And it's because in this hobby, we are constantly collecting little things that we see all over the place that we think are perfect to put on that next base or that next diorama. So our first print today is going to be these jars right here. I love these jars for a couple reasons. The first and most important is that they are very easy to print, and they print in about 2 hours, maybe a little bit over. And I personally love alternating the color scheme from the jar to the lid, so I always print them in sets of 2. So in just about 5 hours or a little under, I have 2 fantastic storage containers, and they're great for holding just anything that you have a quantity of that you kind of need on hand and you don't want to put into deep storage. These are great for that. I love that the lids lock too. You can probably hear it if I click it open. So if I twist it back closed, it locks in place, and now nothing's coming out of here. It's not gonna open up if it falls over. This is absolutely perfect for holding and storing hobby supplies. Next, let's look at our first miniature painting handle today. It is these handles right here. Now they're a little bit on the smaller side, and I love that. They fit really well in your hand. They're very ergonomic, and they can be printed with this rough texture to them. They can also be printed smooth, but I personally enjoy the rough texture. I find it gives me a really nice tactile response when I'm holding it, and they also fit so well in the palm of your hand. These are my go-to. I paint all of my miniatures on these handles right here. All you need other than the PLA to print this is an M3 screw, but those are very easy to find on Amazon, and you can order them in bulk, so it's not really a barrier for entry for this handle. But let's take a look at how quick and easy these can be put together. One of the things that I love about these painting handles is how few parts they are, so very little can go wrong. You have the handle itself, you have the little spiral disc, the holder for the pegs, and the bottom cap. Now that bottom cap is really cool in this miniature painting handle because you can fill that handle with something a little heavier, like sand or maybe rocks, and that'll just give it a little bit more of an anchor weight to the bottom. So when you put this painting handle down, you don't run the risk of knocking it over as easily. The first thing you put on top of the handle is the spiral, and on top of that, you have to fit these pegs into this holder just right by matching up the symbols on the peg to the symbol on the wedge in the holder. This is sort of the only tricky part, is just matching up the symbols and then getting these pegs to line up just right in the spiral. But let me tell you, after you do this once or twice, it becomes second nature, and it is very easy to do, but it really is only difficult to do that first time when you're learning how this works. Once you figure it out and you get a good feel for it, it is very simple to do for the second, third, or fourth painting handle. But if you're only doing one, well, then you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that it's gonna be a little tricky that first time. Once that is in place and those pegs are seated just right into the spiral disc underneath them, you just screw in this M3 screw to anchor them all in place, and you give it a little tighten. Just be a little careful not to over tighten it. You don't want to strip out the plastic on the inside of the handle, and that is it. It is assembled and it is ready to use and hold miniatures, and you can get painting right away. I absolutely love these handles. And this is not a tiered list, so this isn't in any order, because I love these handles, but I also love these handles. And I love this one because it also fits really well in your hand. It's a medium size, maybe a little bit bigger than the other handle we just looked at, but this one does come with a hand support while you're painting. It can be removed pretty easily. You know, if it gets in the way, if the model is too big and it's going to hit the top of the handle, it can come off, but it is really nice to have a hand rest if you're trying to paint at an awkward angle on a Mini and you can't create that bridge with your fingers. You now have this extra hand rest right here to give you a little bit of extra support for those hard to reach areas. These handles require no additional pieces. You print all of the parts and it assembles in under a minute. In fact, let's take a look at that process. This painting handle comes in a lot more parts than the first one, but that's okay. It actually has a few more features to it that the first one just doesn't have. It prints very easy, but inside you do have these crevices, and those supports are just impossible to get to without a pair of pliers. So you're gonna have to have a pair of pliers on hand to get in there, pull those supports out, and clean the opening a little bit, because all of this is pretty tight fit. It doesn't require any additional parts. All of the parts necessary to make this painting handle functional are printed, but because of that, they do have a bit of a tight fit. So you're gonna wanna get in there with the pliers and really make sure that that area is cleaned out and ready to go. So the first part we put on is going to be the holder for the hand rest, and we'll see that in use in just a little bit. The second is going to be the cap on the top. All these parts are printed. So everything's printed and it slides right in. It just takes a little bit of force because you do have to get everything to dry fit. So you just gotta apply a little bit of pressure and everything should just snap in place. Lastly, we just need to install the thumb activation parts. And what this is used for is to lock that spinning top in place. I don't use it very often. It's nice that it's there. I don't get a lot of use out of it, to be honest, because I'm usually holding that top in place with my pointer finger. But there have been occasions where I needed this top to stop swiveling, and you can use your thumb to just lock it in place. Once it's fully assembled, all you need is a little bit of fun tack, or that wall tack that teachers used to use. Press it down to the top of the cap and put your miniature right on top. And with just a little bit of pressure, you're ready to go. That miniature is going to be stuck right on there, and you have a nice little hand rest for yourself when you're ready to get started painting. Hey, one more thing I totally forgot to mention. I didn't even notice until I was editing. Links to all of these prints are going to be in the description below, so check them out for yourself. They are absolutely fantastic, and a lot of them have other options as well. So I'm going to go over the ones that I use the most, but a lot of these have other options, so give them a look. There is one print that I didn't expect to be in this video, but when I started making the list of all the prints that I use the most often, I use this print all the time, and it's these little applicators for glue. I use them constantly, and they can be used for anything. This print comes with a bunch of little applicator sticks, some longer applicator sticks, 4 of the applicator plates, and I love that it comes with its own case. This looks so good on your desk. It's nice and clean, and I use them for so much stuff. I have used them for glue often. I've used them for heavy body acrylic paint if I want to just put a little paint on here, add a little bit of water and dilute it down a bit. I've used it to hold basing sand that I can then apply while I'm doing some basing. And that's why they're in this video. I use these way more often than I expected to. And the fact that it comes with its own little case just is the icing on the cake. I can't speak high enough about these. If you print these, you will definitely get some use out of them. And lastly, I want to end on a high note talking about that one brush that you have that you love. It probably costs more than you wanted it to, and you don't use it as much as you should because you love it so much you use it sparingly. And you know the brush I'm talking about because it's the one that has a special spot on your desk. Well, it deserves a special holder as well. And that is why we're going to print some pen holders. That's right, not brush holders. If you look up brush holders online, they're all pretty bad. The few brush holders that I have tried that I've 3D printed, I genuinely did not like. But when I printed a pen holder, I fell in love with how this looks on my desk. I started out with a knight in shining armor. Soon after, I printed this Leonardo sculpture, which is fantastic. And more recently, Rocky from Project Hail Mary has joined the team. Not only did Rocky save the stars, he now holds my paintbrushes and makes sure that they are ready to go. So when I sit down and I'm ready to paint, my paintbrushes are all set. So that will just about wrap us up. A nice short and sweet video today, but this is something that I absolutely love, the expansiveness of this hobby. And I know a lot of people say that the hobby is just the painting, but for me, it's everything, including the 3D printing of the miniatures and the accessories that we use to make this hobby more fun and enjoyable. And thank you for sticking with me. I hadn't made a video in a little bit. I just ran a Spartan Trifecta weekend, and the month before that I had just been training for it, so I haven't really been around. But I am happy to say that I finished every single one of those miles. They weren't all pretty, but they are all done, and that's what counts. I saw the finish line 3 times in one weekend. That's what's important. So now that that's behind me, I'm hoping to get back on track and be able to make these videos a little bit more often. If you like this video or videos like it, please think about giving this video a thumbs up and maybe subscribing to the channel. It helps the algorithm. And although I don't know what that means and I think it's magic, the squirrels tell me that it is very important, and they thank you as well. Really appreciate you swinging by today. I had a great time hanging out with you, and I look forward to seeing you again at Emberforge Lodge.